And I'm like, wait, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one.
No one is up next to this tweet. That's like, yeah, just what the guy murders that.
I sent it in the email.
Okay.
Jeez. All right, we'll be starting in a second. I just got to message James up for meetings.
Wait, no, James is here. He was kidding. Sorry. I didn't make that clear.
That was pretty good. I thought that was really fun. Yeah, there's 17 voting members here out of 22.
So where is everybody?
4.
That's coming to that's inclusive.
Yeah, we got one. No, all right, 4. 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 50, 62, 8. 25 voters. Yeah, okay. Just go.
Oh, hold on, Ethan. Hold on. We're not ready yet. Hold on, Ethan. Hold on. I forgot to get a new roll call sheet. Hold on.
Yeah, she'll be there. All right, ready? All right, I call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. Secretary David, will you please take the roll?
Senator Anderson,
Excused.
Senator Brennan,
Excused.
Senator Borgasani,
Here.
Senator Corkish,
Excused.
Senator Durnell,
Here.
Senator Flanagan,
Here.
Senator Fulton,
Here.
Senator Gluckert,
Here.
Senator Gregory,
Here.
Senator Hahn,
Excused.
Senator Hurley,
Here.
Senator Jimmy,
Here.
Senator Johnston,
Here.
Senator Kalanda,
Excused.
Senator Kiefer,
Here.
Senator Medina,
Here.
Senator Nelson,
Here.
Senator Ream,
Here.
Senator Rink,
Present.
Senator Sladish,
Here.
Senator Turallo,
Present.
Senator Wilmus,
Here.
Business Manager Parsons,
Yep.
Vice President Hanley,
Here.
President Belcher.
Here.
Sweet. We will now move into approving the minutes of the January 15th meeting. We'll give the secretary a moment to pull that up. Would anyone like to get on my speakers list as of now? There is an attendance sheet at the top of the minutes, so not to worry about that. Nelson.
So under Maddie's name, I moved to adjust the spelling to M-A-D-D-Y.
Second.
Great. So there's been a motion to correct Maddie Jones's name in public comment. It was moved by Nelson, seconded by Fulton.
Yes.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Seeing none, the motion or the amendment is adopted. Any more corrections to the minutes, Senator Flanagan?
Not a correction, but a question for the Vice President. If we see something that we'd like to change, but it's a bit more complex, would it be better to just email you or the secretary?
Okay. Yep. Or just pass her a note at the beginning of the meeting. That way she can have the amendment typed out. Any more corrections? Any more corrections? Last call. All right, seeing none, I'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 15th meeting. Moved by Senator Turallo and seconded by Senator Kiefer. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, the minutes have been approved. We'll now move into public comment. Just a reminder to senators, please no eating, passing notes. You can drink water. Yeah, please be attentive to our guests. And is there anyone for public comment? Yeah. You don't have to sign in. I think we know you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Intern Dean John Moore from College of the Arts and Media. I apologize for sweatpants today. I'm heading to rehearsal immediately after this, and I have to dance. So, I'm here to really tell you a little bit about what's coming up in the next few weeks in the College of the Arts and Media. Next Tuesday, we have a really exciting performance called Of Ebony Embers, which is a one-man musical about the Harlem Renaissance. Lots of famous poets and musicians are going to be featured in the repertoire of that, and it's co-production. It's co-produced by African American Studies, the School of Music, the School of Theater and Dance, the College of the Arts and Media, the Honors College, Humanities and Sciences, and the College of Education. And that is a free performance for all students. So if you have a Grizz card, you want to come Tuesday night, you know, in the meeting at 7:30. We would really love to host you in the School of Music and the Musical Science. You can see this excellent work from our guest artists who are coming from out of town. We also have Montana Repertory Theater's state tour. It opens tomorrow night in the Montana Theater. It is War of the Worlds, the first fake news story of the 20th century. It is the live radio production. It will be performed with a mixed cast of men and women. Traditionally, it's been performed by only men, but we got permission from the estate of the author to mix the cast. So that one does come with a price. It's $25 a ticket. But if you follow Montana Rep on Instagram or Facebook, you can see some of the special deals they'll have throughout the run, community nights, pay what you can nights, etc. So I wanted to welcome you to those events, let you know they're happening this semester, that we're kicking off our semester with. I also really wanted to thank you for the resolution you'll be considering tonight about the music building. This is a project that's been in the works probably since the 70s when the building got too big, but it just kept getting kicked down the road. And I'm really hopeful that we're almost at the end of this long process. And support from the student government is going to be incredibly important in making this thing happen. And I really want to thank Senator Pinnell for putting all the time into this resolution together, which reads beautifully. Well done. So thank you for considering that tonight, and thank you for supporting the arts on campus, supporting the free expression of ideas that we hold so dear in our college. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them, or otherwise.
Any questions? All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Any more public comment?
Hello, beautiful, wonderful senators. My name is Julian Adler. I was a former senator on ASUM, and now I am the voter registration organizer for Montana. I just wanted to talk to you all to introduce myself. Chances are you'll see me on campus trying to get people to register to vote. Ford Montana is looking for any kind of community partners that we can for getting people registered to vote, as well as getting people to fill out the census. And so I was very much hoping that if anyone was interested in liaising with Ford Montana, acting on behalf of ASUM, to help us with either of those goals, I would be most happy to meet you. I'm going to leave my contact information up on the sheet for y'all. And then last but not least, I know y'all are elected officials. I know y'all are probably registered to vote, but just in case, if you moved since the last election, even if it's just down the street, if your name has changed since the last election, if anything that the government uses to identify you has changed, you need to re-register. If people 18 to 35 were registered in the same proportion as those 50 plus in Montana and voted in the same proportion as those 50 plus in Montana, we would ultimately control elections. That being said, we aren't, so we don't. No need to be shy. I understand you all probably already registered, but you know, if you need to update your information, just raise a hand and I'll give you a voter registration form. Everyone all up to date? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. That being said, I look forward to any type of cooperation that you guys are willing to give me. I will wait until your glorious business manager has filled out his voter registration form, and then I will take my leave. Let me just write down my name for you all before I head out.
Sweet. And while he's doing that, does anyone have any questions for Julian? Senator Jimmy.
My primary
If you've lived in, if you've lived in Montana for longer than 30 days and you want to vote in local elections, that makes you a resident for the purposes of voting. It's also one of the first steps to gaining residency for the purposes of tuition.
Any more questions? Oh, yep.
Yeah. Anyone who's filling out forms might also know that there's a little sidebar on those. You don't need to fill that out, but if you do, it really helps us with our metrics and keeping track of who cares about what. And it also helps us get emails out to you if you care about a certain subject. And that subject comes up for perhaps a bill that's being debated or an action that's being taken by the government. So that's pretty much it. At risk of interfering with Parley Pro order, any other questions?
Any more?
Okay, thanks guys.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Is there any more public comments tonight? Any more public comment? Last call for public comment. All right, seeing none, so ends public comment.
So begins the president's report. First up, we have a special guest, Professor Stark from the Mansfield Library.
I won't take up a lot of your time. Thank you so much for your service to the university. You are truly an impressive organization. I hope you realize that. And we'll steady in that vein over the course of the next few months when I know election season gets rolling. So I'm here to make an announcement and to answer any questions you might have. The Mansfield Library made a decision effective spring semester to eliminate fines on items that we consider the general circulating collection. So most of the books and media and serial publications in the library are considered general circulating items. And we undertook an analysis beginning last summer. A small group of us in the library started looking at the economic barrier that fines create for students. And we leaned on the American Library Association, a professional organization. They published a resolution at the end of 2018 and carried forward into 2019 that really encouraged libraries to look at fines as a form of injustice and access to a barrier to access. So it took us several months to sort of put together an analysis, and we tried to study the issue as closely as we could, even though it's kind of complex to track and trace all the ways and fines payable and budget. But ultimately, we decided that within the spring semester that all student fines would be on general items would be eliminated. So I wanted to announce that to all of you, answer any questions if you had them.
I do have a couple of questions for Senator Tarallo.
I'm gonna start with your comment.
Of course.
I just had a general question. So, since the fines would be eliminated, how does the library, I guess, plan on getting those, making sure those general circulation items back to the library?
Yeah, that's a great question. So books will still go to a category of lost. So if you hold on to a book indefinitely, we will try to recoup that book from you, and if you cannot bring the book back. You will have to reimburse us for the cost of the book so that we can replace it in our collection. There's still an incentive to return materials, but what's really interesting, not a lot of academic libraries have made this move. Some have. It's been really popular in public libraries in big cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, Boston. And what they have found is that actually, when you eliminate fines, materials come back faster. And folks who have been fearful or anxious about returning to the library actually return books in droves. And so a whole bunch of books that have gone to lost come back to the library with the elimination of fines. So maybe I'm curious to see if that happens for us.
Senator Darnell.
Thank you for speaking. My question was that implementing fines on those items, are you also prohibiting fines out of the previous state?
Nope, so if you have an existing fine with the library that hasn't yet turned over to business services, you don't have control over that. but all existing fines with the library were eliminated. So all of those were
Senator Hahn,
I didn't raise my flag, sorry.
Senator Flanagan,
Just for clarification purposes and nothing like not out of any doubt or anything like that, is there any projected loss of revenue with this change for the library? Any significant change?
So it will impact the line, I mean, the fines, didn't ever play a role in our operating budget because they were difficult to predict on a year-to-year basis. And it was also difficult to get a sense of how much of the fine we would actually capture. So we didn't ever incorporate the fines into the library's operating budget, but it, of course, they did play a role in our budget. But we just made a decision that we were going to commit to removing the barrier, that it was more important to remove the barrier than it was to, have that amount of money in the budget. The impact for students is worth
Senator Tarallo,
How did, people, quote unquote, pay fines before? Did they have to come into the library to do so, or was it offered on their bill?
So it was both, it was both. So, fines accrued up to a certain amount, and you could pay those in the library. And then at a certain point, they moved over to business services, and then they would sit on a student's bill and, potentially prevent students from registering and students from applying to graduate. So it created sort of a domino effect of impacts on students that we decided to work.
May I have a follow-up?
yes.
Is there a specific person who will be in charge of collecting data on whether or not this person's cards getting more books or whatever returns? Or
That's a good question. So we have a lot of, we run a lot of data in the library. So we will definitely capture at the end of this, probably we'll look at it periodically at the end of the semester just to determine, whether materials were returned more frequently if we saw a big influx of books returning or lost books even. One of the things that we also discovered, so in the course of the analysis, we started really looking at all of our policies that related to circulation periods, and we decided that undergraduate students deserve the same checkout period as graduate students. And so we also changed our policy. So students are going to have materials for a longer period. That used to be true last semester. Undergraduate students could check out material for 3 weeks, and now it's 4 months. That is a separate change that we made but related. And so we'll take that into account when we're looking at our statistics because the checkout period for undergraduates almost discussed.
Awesome. Any more questions? Senator Tarallo?
I guess you could call them non-general circulation items.
Yes.
I'm going to assume they still have fines on them, and if so, why was the policy not carried out with them? So,
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are some materials that still do carry fines and it's primarily equipment and laptops and items on course reserve. And the reason for maintaining the fine structure on those items was because the expense of replacing a laptop far exceeds the cost of replacing a laptop, and the demand for those items is at a much higher level than the general circulating items. So we didn't want to put students at a burden of not, to go through the effort of having course reserve materials available and then not being able to check that out.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
I promise I'm done.
No, it's good. I'm really excited about this change. It's something that I thought about for a long time and excited to see the American Library Association take it on. And it's been exciting to see the way the libraries have really started to think about what it means to have an embedded relationship with your users, and that creates all kinds of anxiety. We've heard really positive feedback from students so far, and our employees have emphasized how it has reduced the amount of emotional labor they do at work related to negative interactions with and you can reach out to me at any time if you questions, if you ever want information about the library, I'm happy to provide it to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your good work. I'm
Great. Next up on my agenda, I have committee reports. I don't have very many. I do have the Unit Standards Committee update. We met on Friday and we went over the geology department. Just a weekly reminder that I give you, there is the opportunity for another student to be on that committee. It's Fridays at 2:15. If you're really interested in policy and sort of detailed things with that, that would be a really good fit for you. It's pretty fun. There's always snacks at that committee. The next two committee updates I have are mass subcommittees. First, the mass spring event committee. I may have discussed this at a previous meeting in the fall semester, but the Montana Associated Students is currently working with OG to collaborate on doing an event this spring at State of the Student. There's a chance it may be held at ASUM. The agenda for this, or held at UM. The agenda for this is not very concrete or set yet, but the idea is to focus on students who are not as involved in student government and sort of give them some face time with OG and then highlight issues around mental health and basic needs. So I've been doing a lot of work with that subcommittee. And then the next subcommittee is the subcommittee that I chair, is the Legislative Planning Subcommittee. Unfortunately, the 2 times that subcommittee was supposed to meet, it did not meet, but that is not stopping me. I'm still working on the project for the statewide legislative priority survey. So if any of you have any suggestions of something you think college students might be interested in, maybe a topic I haven't thought about yet, please email that to me. And I guess that concludes my committee reports for tonight. Does anyone have any questions about anything I just talked about? Awesome. Moving on, we will go to online public comment. I emailed that out today. Before the meeting, there was one piece of public comment. Is there any discussion on the online public comment? Any discussion on the online public comment? Senator Slavish.
I think ASUM should do what we can to help fix the situation with PD, because that sounded very inconvenient for that person and very frustrating. So there's something that we could do to shift that, but I think it's an important thing because parking on campus is a pain, so.
Yeah, and just a reminder on the public comment, the emails there are populated, so feel free to email those individuals and reach out to them to work on their issues. That is highly encouraged. Right, any more discussion on the online public comment? Okay, SB 46, resolution adjusting student employee hours to reflect a bi-weekly pay period. Vice President Hanley.
So we're still working on the adjustment for bus drivers for transportation. That has not gotten finished yet, but this will be ready for next week. So we will be voting to approve this change to personnel. So can I have a follow-up?
Yes.
Move to table for 1 week.
Second.
Okay, there was a motion made by Vice President Hanley to table for 1 week. Second was called by Senator Fulton. Unanimous consent was called. Any discussion? The resolution is tabled. And there is not other on the agenda, but I do have 2 small other items for you. Just a reminder that I changed my office hours to Mondays from 9 to 11 and Wednesdays from 3 to 5. That's more office hours, so more opportunities for y'all to come hang out with me. Super fun. And then lastly, just a quick reminder that there is no eating while we have guests speaking to us. Any questions about anything in my report? All right, so ends the president's report.
And so begins Vice President's report. First, we'll have committee updates, so we'll vote to approve them. Yeah. Oh, that's rather inconvenient. I think if you just go back. There you go. Yeah. So few changes on the ASUM committee side. I really think there's only like one university committee that changed. So there you go. We have an elections chair now, and I'll get to that later in my report. Senator Terrell.
Yeah, could you just fill out the interview real quick? Okay, thank you.
Does anyone want to get my speakers list? That's all the changes to ASUM. And then there's one change to university committees. Yep, there you go. Any discussion? Last call. All right, seeing none, I'll now entertain a motion to approve committee assignments.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Durnell.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Wilmes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Seeing none, committee assignments have been approved. Sweet. So that now moves me on to my committee reports, and I only have one for you this week, and it's the College of Business Dean search. We are officially done with interviews as of like 8 hours ago or something like that. We are going to meet in I want to say 2 weeks to discuss shortlisting and reference calls. And we are going to fill out a quality survey with our top candidates and then start to narrow it down from there with expected campus finalist visits mid to late February. For all you College of Business students and everyone on Senate, I will be sending times when those finalist visits come, but that probably won't be for a while. Any questions for me about that committee report? Senator Rinkin.
How many interviews did you have? How many candidates?
9. Yep. Any more questions for me? Sweet. So that now moves me into elections committee. So as you saw in committee assignments, we now have a new chair. His name is Shane St. Ong. He will be reaching out to those of you that are on the election committee soon to set up a meeting time, or he has already reached out. So please be respondent and please tell him the times that work for you so that you can start scheduling them. For those of you that don't know Shane, he is a third-year law student. He's been attending the University of Montana for like the last 7 years as an undergraduate and an eventual law student. So it should be a really, really good chair. And then just as a notice for all of you that want to be on the elections committee and aren't, there is only one senator spot left on it. And if you want to be on the elections committee and you aren't running for a position next year, send me a note and then I will appoint you for the next Senate meeting, because right now there's only one senator spot left. Any questions for me on elections committee? Cool. That moves me into my other, and I have a lot. So the first is kind of my-ish committee report for Mass. And that is that since the bylaws have been enacted, there are several committees that have been formed, and one committee requires an ASUM senator to sit on what's called the Judicial Council. It works similar to our Constitutional Review Board in the fact that no one on ASUM can sit on the Constitutional Review Board, hence the similarity. No Mass member can sit on the Judicial Council. So Abigail or President Belcher and myself cannot sit on the committee, so we need one of you two. If you are interested in this, send me a note right now, and I will pick the person who we're going to send off to ASMSU President Taylor Blossom by tomorrow. If I do choose you, I will email you. The time commitment for this it meets on an as-needed basis, and my guess is that it will not meet this year because this is a brand new committee and a brand new procedure for Mass in general. So I doubt it will meet, but in the very, very off chance it does, we do need a representative from UM to sit on the council. So please send me a note by the end of the meeting if you're interested. Yeah, any questions on that? Any questions? You good? Okay. Sweet. The second one, if you are interested in running for an executive position next year, it might be a good idea to stop by any of our office hours to talk about our day-to-day activities and what our jobs look like. That's part of the reason why our office hours are there for the semester, so you can talk to us about what we do on a day-to-day basis, what running ASUM looks like, and yeah, just stop by our office hours or shoot us an email if you are interested in kind of knowing anything about our positions, or even just about being an executive in general if you're planning on running. Yeah. Any questions? Sweet. Next is mentors and mentees. So with the exception of a couple senators, I'm still reaching out. You should all be connected with your mentees. If you have not, if I haven't connected you with your mentee, or you're, if you're new and I haven't connected you with your mentee, I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow just to give you an update about where I am there. For those of you that were on in the fall, your mentee is the mentee that's on the spreadsheet. So go and contact that person and set up a meeting time. And yeah, unless the only change that I did make was to one person from fall semester to now. For everyone else, it's just the same person. So reach out and try to schedule a meeting with your mentee. Next, my other, just a reminder, please CC me on all ASUM committee emails so that I'm up to date on where your committee is and when you're meeting. It just helps me to keep track of committee work and lets me, or allows me to contact you in case anything goes awry or you need help in that sense. The next thing, for your office hours, when you email me or when you stop by and you talk to me about what you're doing for your office hours, please let me know what you're doing during your office hour. This is a way for me to hold you accountable so that you're being productive during your office hour and you're using it for ASUM business. This just helps me keep track to make sure that the things that you're saying you're going to do get done, or hopefully try to get done. So there's that. And then last two things for reminders. First, if your binders are full, please clean them out. They are annoying when they get really, really big and they really, really stuff the tubs, and sometimes we can't fit all the binders in. So please, during the break or at the end of the meeting, if your binder is full or has a lot in it, please empty it out, or just empty out the things that you don't need in your binder. So obviously you're going to need the governing documents, so don't empty that out, but maybe empty out some of the previous agendas, minutes, resolutions, because you don't really need that anymore. And then the last thing for me, remember, just keep in mind the Senate meeting absence policy. If you are gone from the Senate meeting for more than 15 minutes, I will be giving you a third of an unexcused absence this semester. I was a little bit relaxed about that last semester, but if you're gone for more than 15 minutes at a time, you will be receiving a third of an unexcused absence. Any questions for me? Senator Flanagan.
Is there anywhere we can view our absences?
Email me and I can give you an update. Senator Kiefer. Yeah. Any other questions for me about anything in my other? Any questions for me in general? Last call. All right, seeing none, so ends Vice President's report.
So it begins business manager's report. So you'll see all the financial accounts for this week. We do have two requests. One from the food pantry, STIP request, interagency one, and one from the Spanish Club requesting a zero base. So we'll go ahead and just jump into discussion on the financial requests. And I would now welcome anyone from the Board on Budget and Finance to give an authorship. Senator Hurley.
Hello, everybody. So the board decided to fund this in full. We felt like this was a useful, a good use of funds, and we didn't see any trouble with it. So I encourage you to just go yes with it. Thank you.
Senator Flanagan.
Yeah, is there a reason, at least on my copy, I think it's the same for everybody else, if you talk about it, it's just for ASUM use only, and it's just not filled out.
Yep, so I actually included the form from prior before I actually filled this out. I do have it currently filled out. This was approved in the amount of $500 for anyone who was questioning it. That's on me. So, but we did approve it in the full amount of $500 for the quote that was listed above. Thank you for catching that, Senator Flanagan. Do we have any? All right, now I'll open up for discussion from the Senate, if there is any. Remember, we will have to vote to approve this in amount, so someone will have to make a motion to approve this in a specified amount. Senator Fulton.
Move to approve $500.
There's been a motion by Senator Fulton to approve in the amount of $500, seconded by Senator Gluckert. Unanimous consent was called. Is there any discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, so it is approved. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next financial request. This is from the Spanish Club. So they did not request a budget last year, so they wanted to for this year. This budget will last until the end of fiscal year for July 1. This budget is fairly straightforward, but I will now welcome anyone from the Board on Budget and Finance to give an authorship. Senator Hurley.
Okay, so we also decided to fund this one in full. This is just for food and advertising for, an event that they'd like to hold. It'll benefit them well, and we just thought it was previous, and they weren't, it's zero base because they haven't given birth this year, as this year, so. There we go.
Perfect. All right, is there any more discussion from the board? All right, seeing none from the body. So just as a reminder, in order to approve these zero-based budget requests, we will have to go by individual line item. So an example would be, I would like to fund line item 62214 in this amount. That's just for prefacing. Senator Flanagan.
Move to approve line item 62214 in the full amount.
It's been a motion by Senator Flanagan to approve line item 62214 in the amount of $20. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Sladish. Unanimous consent was called. Is there any discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, so it is approved.
May I have a follow-up?
Sure.
Move to approve line item 62817 in the full amount.
There's been a motion by Senator Flanagan to approve line item 62817 in the amount of $50. Seconded by Senator Johnson.
Unanimous.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, so it is approved. That is everything from the budget. This budget's been funded in full. So we will now move on to my next agenda item. So I decided to, well, actually, in conjunction with the Board on Budget and Finance, I decided to include unused fall travel funds in this meeting as well. We had a discussion about what the unused fall travel fund should be used for. However, we did not come to a unanimous decision. So the board wanted me to include this within this meeting to have a discussion. So I wanted to preface this discussion by saying that we have about $8,000 in unused fall travel allocation funds, of which came back. The board did allocate it to groups, but they went unused. In previous years, the business manager has just moved this into the zero base account. However, I wanted to flesh the idea by the Board on Budget Finance to see if they wanted to put it all into spring travel. Put some of it into spring travel and some into zero base, or all into zero base. This was just, I wanted to be transparent and actually let the Board on Budget and Finance have some skin in the game. However, fiscal policy is not clear about what the process looks like. So I decided to have it go through the board. And I see I have some discussion. I have Fulton, Durnell, and Tarallo. Senator Fulton, you can go ahead.
So this is more of a question, but don't we receive more like travel requests in the spring semester?
Yes.
So, may I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
So would it make more sense just to have this roll over into our spring travel, so that way there's that extra cushion in case?
Yes, so that definitely does make sense. We always do have more travel in the spring. However, at this point in the year, we have about $6,500 more in travel than we did this point last year, which is a fairly significant increase. Right now, we have $19,500 in the spring travel allocation. At this point last year, we were only at $13,000 for spring travel. So that kind of factored into my decision of why I wanted to go to the Board on Budget and Finance to see how they wanted to use that $8,000, because there was already an additional $6,500 in the account from this point last year. Senator Durnell.
Spring travel allocations unused, roll over into zero base as well.
Spring. Yes, the spring is much more laid out the process and fiscal policy of going to zero base. Fall travel, it doesn't really say. Is that all you had, Senator Durnell?
Yeah, thank you.
Senator Tarallo.
Yeah, I just like to put out that I'm in favor of it just spilling into spring, because that's travel was what it was intended for. We do get a lot of travel requests, so it would be good to have a nice cushion there. And so I would be in favor of putting it into spring travel. You all have your own thing.
Senator Flanagan.
Question for the business manager. Could you just do a quick refresher on exactly what zero base really influences, and what it affects in Senate exactly?
Mm-hmm. So the zero base is our reserve account, basically where any unused funds go, that goes into zero base. That is our capital cushion. So as you can see, it's currently at about $145,000. This is required to stay at about $100,000. The reason we have this account is to account for when agencies have deficits or if they go over. This is what we tap into for that. So that said, that kind of is what the purpose of zero base is. It's taken on a few new meanings. We have student groups request operational budgets out of it if they don't participate in the normal final budgeting process. But the purpose of this account is basically is the place where all the money goes when it goes unused. So at the end of each fiscal year, when student groups don't spend all of or everything out of their budgets, it goes back into zero base, of which we can recycle through during final budgeting as well. President Belcher.
So I would be in favor of a model that split this amount between putting it in the spring travel and putting it in zero base. I think while we have the opportunity to add extra money to travel, it would be nice. However, I do have qualms about putting that much into travel and potentially excessively funding all of the travel requests for spring semester when that's not going to be something that's sustainable for us to do in future years. And I think it might set a bad precedent with the student group. So for that reason, I would be in favor of only putting a portion of that money into the spring travel account.
Senator Wilmes.
This is Senator Parsons. So my question would be, what is the percent difference between the spring semester travel and fall semester travel? Like how much more is spring typically?
So typically it's not much more unless there has been unused funds. So in the past, business managers have put in the unused funds. So currently you'll see that it's at 1,500. For fall and spring, it's supposed to be split 50-50. So we started the year with 36,000. So we'd have 18,000 in each account. When we went through fall travel, we had $18,000 to work with. So as you can see, I rolled over the 1,500 of which we did not allocate for fall travel last year. It's just that what we did allocate, only about half that amount was used. So $8,000 came back from student groups who either one did not go on the trip or had outside revenue help fund some of their travel costs, or just didn't end up going.
Yeah, follow up.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I worded that question poorly. I'm asking about how much is used out of the account between spring and fall. Because fall, since there's more people traveling in the spring, that means that there'd be more money going out of the account in the spring. I just wanted to know what the difference was between fall and spring as far as money leaving the account.
Yeah, so travel account is split 50-50. So it'd be 18,000 each semester. However, whatever is unused in the fall, at least what hasn't been allocated, has been passed on. Oh, you're talking about the amount requested?
Yes.
Okay, there's usually typically a lot more requested each year. In the spring, I would say there's probably anywhere from 25 to 33% more travel requests, which is a fairly significant portion. So yeah, that's when most student groups travel. That's when a lot more academic conferences are. So a lot more of our co-curricular groups go on those sorts of activities.
Thank you, that answered it.
Okay. Senator Johnson. All right, is there any more discussion? So we'll go with Senator Tarala first and then. All right, I'll put you on my speechless. Go ahead, Rick.
How did the roughly $13,000 fare last spring? Were you forced to deny student groups funding, or were you able to fund them in full, or just run out of money?
It was fairly competitive, but I'm going to default to Vice President Hanley since he's on the committee at that time, and President Belcher, I think.
I mean, what happened with the committee last year was we had, I spent about 10 hours before Senate doing this. We had a 4-hour meeting about it. We did pre-rates before, so we examined the budgets for about 3 hours beforehand, and then I went back and analyzed it for 2 hours, and then there was a 3-hour discussion in Senate about the travel allocation. And to put it in short, I had a mental breakdown on the floor. For those of you that remember that, it was not fun last year.
Did you have a follow-up, Senator Rink? Okay. Senator Tarala.
Is there any reason that you would know of, or that's maybe hinted at in fiscal policy, that says why what we're supposed to do with the fall money is a lot more vague than spring? You know, is it supposed to be up for our discretion, or?
I have no idea. So I guess part of the reason why I'm doing this process, because fiscal policy is unclear, I wanted to have like a democratic discussion about it. That said, it could be solved with a fiscal policy change. The spring is very particular about where it goes because that aligns with the end of fiscal year. Basically, the only thing for fall travel is that 50% of the fund has to be used in the fall, but it doesn't really talk about where those unused funds go. Senator Johnson.
All I was going to say is that
usually the spring is a lot more intense and usually a lot, the requests, there's more requests and usually there's more dollar amount requests, so I don't think that would be, 13,000 in my personal opinion was very slim amount of money. I mean, there was a lot that we could not do with that money and we could on this next upgrade, so I like the conversation.
Senator Wilmus,
I had a thought, but then I lost it, so I yield.
do you want to be put to the bottom of the speaker list?
No, I don't think it's coming back.
Vice President Hammond.
Yeah, so the reason why this is kind of vague is that carryover are stipulated for fiscal year end. And since fall is not towards fiscal year end, that's why this is vague. No other account has this stipulation because there's not really, there kind of is a stipulation special about semester wise, but not really. And with travel specifically, you can only use it in the semester when it's requested. That's why we get so much rollover from this account. In the past, the precedent has been to go off of the spring rollovers, which is to fill the union emergency, which right now we can't because it's capped at 6,000 and we can't go over 6,000, and then eventually roll it back over into zero base. But that was based off of interpretation of fiscal policy that's not specifically outlined. So that's part of the reason why this is being brought forward. And yeah, and this spring semester will be the 6th time that I've seen travel allocation during my time on ASUM. And I can say every single time for spring travel, it's always competitive. There's a lot being requested and it's very, very complex and there's a lot of things that you have to pay attention to because it's going to be long and everything's going to go really quick. So just forewarning about the meeting that's going to come in 2 weeks.
Senator Trello.
President Belcher, you have a question.
Yes.
Could you, I guess, just clarify your position on putting it in the, on putting too much in the spring allocation that we will frivolously spend money or something along those lines?
I did not say that I think we would frivolously spend it. The point that I was attempting to make was that it would be great to fund these travel requests in more or in full. However, that's not sustainable and that's not something we can commit to doing in future years. And having that sort of funding, I don't like using the phrase cut off, but not continued for student groups can make it harder for us to work with them sometimes, and it can be harder for them to have the correct expectations about what they're going to get. I'll provide an example. So my sophomore year in final budgeting, we ended up defunding an entire agency and we had an influx of cash. And out of the goodness of our hearts, what we decided to do with some of that cash was just fund all the student groups. We were like, Oprah, you get funding, you get funding. However, in the subsequent years, that was not possible because we did not defund an agency and we had a lot of student groups complain to us saying that they were defunded, which was not the case. They just didn't receive the same amount of funding as they had the year before. So I don't know. I'm not opposed to like throwing some money into the travel account. I just don't think it's necessary to put all of the money in the travel account.
I apologize if I mischaracterized your position.
Don't let it happen again. Senator Flanagan.
Question for the business manager. Is the only like revenue generation that we see going into zero base like rollover, or do you see any other sort of capital being generated and going into zero base besides rollover?
Zero base, it's basically like the rollover, carryover. Yeah, we've kept, when UM Productions went over, so the agency that went over, that we defunded because it was no longer in use, we have retained in a separate carryover account. However, zero base did grow a little bit when that went under. So it's kind of, it literally is just the catch-all kind of account that we have. It's required to be at 100,000. So when people retire, we had a few lawyers retire last year, so we had to pay pretty significantly out of zero base to fill our contingency fund. So yeah, it's basically the leftovers of which we have to maintain at least $100,000.
I have a follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Just a general comment. Not that I'm necessarily leaning to a specific action yet, but I do think it is important to make sure that we are putting capital into this account just because it is sort of a cushion account. So making sure that we have that cushion is important, and making sure that when we have the opportunity to make the cushion happen, I also think that's important, so just something to keep in mind.
All right, my speakers list is currently empty. Is there anyone else who would like to get on at this time?
Yeah, just for clarification again, it was, you said roughly 8,000 from fall that would be carrying over.
Yeah, so 8,000 in unused funds. So if it was put all into the spring travel, it would be about 28,500. Is there any more questions from the body at this time? All right, seeing none, so I kind of wanted to talk about like next steps. This isn't necessarily a voting item. BNF, I was originally planning on having that committee vote on something like this. However, it doesn't appear that it seems like we want additional funding in the spring travel amount, and I would agree that we can put some into that. However, because there is a lack of process outlined in fiscal policy, I think the best thing moving forward would be go through a resolution format, of which I would probably be working on this week and submitting by this Friday. If anyone does have any sort of specific amounts that they do want deposited and where they want it deposited, I would welcome any participation. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like yet. We could also have more of a discussion of BNF this week if members would like to do so. It seems like, yeah, there's just a lot more we need to talk through. So I'll make sure and include everyone in that process as well. And if there is any more question from BNF this week, I'll be sure to include this as an agenda item for next week before a decision is reached. All right, so I wanted to move on to my next item, final budgeting formal lobbying absences. I'm just going to keep this on here every week before, every Senate meeting before the January 31st deadline. So if you know for certain that you're going to miss part of final budgeting or formal lobbying, you have to let me or Vice President Hanley know by January 31st. Anything after that point in time will be considered an unexcused absence. We still do retain some discretion, so if you know you're going to be gone for formal lobbying or final budgeting, please just let me know. I know a few of you have, and I've documented it, and that we'll just work through those as well. But yeah, January 31st, the deadline. Just please let us know before then. Vice President Hanley.
Yeah, you should email Business Manager Parsons and CC me on the email.
Well said. Senator Glucker.
Are we gonna know whether we're excused or not beforehand, so if we've emailed you?
If there is still some discretion exercised in that, I will be more lax on formal lobbying because I understand people have classes in 4 days in a row is a little extraneous. Final budgeting, I might have different prerequisites, but I will make sure and have an objective standard of which you can all see and know the expectations for. Generally, if you let me know before January 31st, I'm going to be as flexible as possible with you. Final budgeting might be a little bit of a different story. However, I don't want to set people off or get them close to them amount of unexcused absences to the point of which you would be impeached, but that there still might be some ramifications of missing maybe only half an absence as opposed to a full one. The more notice I get, though, probably the best in your interest. So if you know for certain you're going to be gone, please let me know. If extraneous circumstances come up, we'll still consider them. It's discretionary, but we'll try and be as impartial as possible. Senator Vernell.
During final lobbying days, is class to be considered an excused absence?
That's a great question. I would defer to President Belcher.
Yeah, so I meant to put this in my other, so thank you for reminding me. If for any reason you need an excusal for formal lobbying or final budgeting that conflicts with a class, I'm happy to write you an excusal note for that to your professor. It's one of the very cool things that I'm allowed to do as president. So just email me the name of the course, the name of the professor's email, and the date and time that the class meets. And I will email the professor and get you excused from that. Obviously, if you have an exam and you'd rather go to your exam than formal lobbying, go take your test. The only thing though is if you send me a request for an excusal after the date of the excusal, I won't do it. It has to be before.
Yeah, so that's also at your disposal. That's really helpful if you do need to get out of the class. Professors usually pretty receptive to the president of the student body. All right. Is there any questions about that? Any further questions about absences? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to my committee reports. I do have a few. So Board on Budget and Finance, we'll be having a discussion again about unused travel funds. So if anyone does have any ideas on that of where they'd like money to go, you can submit something to me via email, which you think the best idea would be, or you can come to the committee, which is at 5 p.m. on Sundays in the ASUM conference room. Publications board met earlier today, so we're working on hiring new folks for the Kaiman, so specifically for the editor-in-chief and the business manager. We're working on getting those postings ready and letting interested parties know about that. We also talked a little bit about elections, referenda language, and our proposal to change our fee. So if you look at our bylaws and our policies, we have a very specific relationship outlined with both the Kaiman and KBGA about our ASUM publications. And that we have to give notice for referenda and fees to the student body so that they can have an educated and informed decision moving forward about how they would like to increase a fee or not, and what they would like to see within our own constitutional referenda and the work of the Constitutional Ad Hoc Committee. I did also want to state that there is an SAL spot open on the publications board, so if you know any friends in the J School or anyone else be interested in hiring the new editor or business manager for the publications board, welcome them to join. And then the budgeting committee, so this university budgeting committee met last Thursday. Myself and President Belcher attended. We had talked about getting cleaner data for enrollment figures and how we would allocate funds to different departments. There was some talk about including metrics that would reward departments for good behavior, such as retention of students. University is currently doing a little bit better. There are some folks who want to move strictly to a student credit hour model, but that we're still in the talks of how we want to allocate general funds to specific programs. Not the most exciting stuff, but it could have huge implications for how much your department gets funded in the future. So if there is any input on that, please let me know. Did you have something? Go ahead.
Sorry, do you mind if I ask a question about that
Yeah.
discussion? So if a student is enrolled in a course that counts for credit in 2 majors, which major or which department should get the tuition revenue from that course, do you think?
And that's $1 million question of the university. They're having a hard time determining where to put money for specific courses and who's teaching courses. So that could be a potential budgeting pitfall moving forward. Plan, man.
Is there not a way to just split it?
Not to our knowledge, no. But yeah, Senator Wilmus.
So in such a situation, wouldn't it be one department or the other is actually hosting the course?
So what we talked about with the data folks, they're having a hard time determining who houses what and what offerings are being housed. If we did move over to a student credit hour model, they would have to be a lot more specific, and our data offices would have to be nailed down on specific departments housing that. Right now, it seems like they're not exactly sure. So when we go to incorporate a new budget model, that's something we'll definitely have to iron out. And the university is also working on buying like a software package that could more readily sift through the data. I know it's fairly complex for them to iron out some of those details, especially students who are dual majors, which department they belong to and whether or not programs should get money for you declaring a major there. That could also be an incentive for a department to try and get particular students within their own school. But a lot of these details are going to be ironed out. Hopefully the data stuff will clear it up. But it does seem to me that part of the budgeting hesitance over the past few years with declining enrollment and our budgeting woes has been because of some lack of consensus on data and where things are housed. So hopefully this will help alleviate some of those problems. Is there any more comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to birthdays. So I had the best of intents. I did get Senator Sladich cookies. They're at my house. That said, I will be going to get pizza from Pizza Hut since it's 2 weeks. This will be 2 weeks in a row. I forgot to get birthday presents. I'll make sure and bring your cookies next week. Hopefully they're still fresh. If not, I'll get you some other ones. But if anyone has a particular preference for pizza, if anyone has dietary restrictions, just send me a note and I'll go order that in a minute. With that said, we'll go ahead and take a 10-minute recess then. What do y'all want to eat? Pepperoni?
Thank you.
What do you want?
One thing with cheese.
Cheese.
We'll call them vegetables.
Vegetables?
The vegetables.
Vegetables. Okay.
Vegetables. Let me.
If you could take the percent difference between spring and fall of the previous year, and then you use that and you take the percentage of what
It's a lot of math. It's a lot of math.
It's like, you just have to subtract 3 things and add.
Oh, you sent it last night, and I was like,
The business manager should be able to handle that, I would hope.
I know, I got the bus.
You'd be surprised. No.
You looked
Yeah, I'm
at
sure,
me,
yeah.
I was like, oh, you-
Write it down, send it to him.
Spring semester, we typically use the entire budget, right? Minus like $1,000 or $2,000 for emergencies.
To be fair, I don't remember.
I don't know.
Then the fall one, we're using roughly half of it.
This is my first year as your secretary. I don't know.
Let's say spring semester we use 90% of the budget, fall semester we use, say, 60% of the budget, so there's 30% there difference. So you take whatever's left over from fall, you take 30% of it and you throw it into the spring.
I feel like you're judging.
And if I remember correctly, all of it goes back to zero base at the end of the year anyway.
International law organizations like Karen and Adams.
We are getting through this meeting fast, y'all, and I appreciate all of you.
Oh, there's no.
What I'm gonna need y'all to do though is, yeah, what I'm gonna need you all to do is get through these resolutions, like, have your amendments already written out
we gotta
in a
resolution
note.
on this.
Written out for you
Is this what you're doing to the
later, later in the meeting.
girl? I got you.
Why am I tired? I slept for like 12 hours.
It's key for EI, right?
IE,
IE? Oh no, it's Pfeiffer that's EI.
yeah, he's out though.
What happened to him? Did he?
He's in Ireland.
Fun.
Yeah.
Pfeiffer joined the IRA.
Yeah, we're joining the IRA, but you met somebody who's been in the IRA before.
No, not the new one. You gotta go to the old one. Oh, you're from the Protestant part?
My friend came to Ireland like 160 years ago. I'm not gonna say.
Is it Maddie Rock?
No, sorry, I
Rope?
can't,
R-O-A?
it's Eva Rock with an E at the end.
Rock.
She's the sustainability coordinator.
And then Maddie Jones,
And
right?
then Maddie Jones, yeah. And then I don't know if I'm supposed to send that to her. I just assume everything goes through there. This is my first time doing the resolutions.
What if RNA stands for resolutions and amendments?
Oh, it does?
Doesn't it? Like, what does it stand
I don't know. I thought it was R, the letter N, and A for a long time. I still don't know
Hey,
what
Wilmus.
ASCRC is.
for? Wilmus, what does RNA stand for?
IRA, the Irish Republican Army.
No,
R?
R and A.
RNA, oh.
Yeah, okay. Bring it in your Slim Jim or whatever you want.
It's not a Slim Jim, it's actual beef jerky.
Gross.
Just in a Slim Jim package.
Disgusting.
I'm eating popcorn.
I can see the schedule is quite full.
Let him have his Slim Jim.
And I'm just looking, I think I was going to worry about the budgeting. So.
Yeah.
So do we legit only have like 15 minutes so we could actually do this program?
No.
Oh, I was under the impression. Wait.
I know,
Every
it
other.
sucks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait,
Standard.
you had a meeting time?
No.
Oh, I thought you
I know,
gave
what
it
else
to me
did
now.
Of course we haven't found a meeting.
I thought you had already figured it out. I was like, wait, what?
Hey, thank you. It's amending the recycling oversight board bylaws because we want to change the name of
Yeah,
the
she's got
2-0
kids.
waste oversight board.
That's it. But I haven't done this before, so you've written a lot.
Yeah, and I like literally written 2 name changes already, so.
Okay, that would be really useful just to even understand.
Yep.
I'm really upset.
That'd be great. Yeah,
Cool, I'm so excited about that. Make it again.
Chicken breast.
Really? Okay.
I know, it's musical resolution.
You know, I have time if you need chicken breast.
And I have so much time just for
Chicken thighs, hamburger, what kind of meat do you need? Do you need me to take you to the store, Brian?
Okay.
No,
I have coupons. Do you want to go?
My rig button is then I can actually
Right, okay, my dad like submitted like the tuition payment the first day that our bill came up, and it didn't get processed until today. Like it didn't hit until today.
Business services has had my grant like a week and a half before school started, and I haven't even touched it yet. And I'm just like,
Yeah, they're so understaffed. They're missing like 10 people.
like guys, get that federal financial aid that's on my account. That's not paying for my tuition fees, now it's paying for my regular fees. Process my grant.
If anybody's got like a 2.5 hour, I'd show up.
Mine paid out, but it's already gone.
It's over there.
I paid for rent for the next, until my lease is out.
Did you do a 10-month lease?
12.
Isn't your lease start in August?
I paid it through to August now. No, I have to stay at Rome because I'll be in Belize when we move out, so I won't have the place to move. So I'm like, I guess I better stay where I'm
Are
at.
they doing their community assistant applications yet?
Oh.
Because if you get a 1-bedroom to yourself, you get rent paid for, it's a part-time job. And all that is just like the RA of Rome.
I think everybody applies for that. I know my roommate's applying for that, and I don't want to work. Yeah, I don't want to work for Rome.
Yeah, they're actually a corporate sponsor.
No,
Vivid, all these members.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the audience members are people in this audience that we're talking to right now. And Gwen. Hi, Gwen.
Send it in separate.
Oh, the camera's not pointing at us. Hold on.
Just that. The very bottom of the weekly update,
Fun little
you'll
treat.
find that to be the most consistent place to make sure.
Did you read the whole one?
Apparently, I'm the only one who did it, so I shouldn't complain.
You should.
Breathe.
It's okay.
Complaining doesn't get you anywhere. We want to hold reflections in this semester, so we're going to see changes.
Brian, you're up here. Okay, go down here. Just think there's probably a margarita.
Do you have
There's probably like an adult bedroom waiting for you.
I was just winning the show.
No, but I can go find it.
So, you got anything you're gonna make that's long and complicated? That I need to write down before you start?
Yeah.
Or will I do like I usually do when you get really into the business stuff? I don't even write it, you see it, I just go back. I have to apologize.
I know, I apologize. I was talking very fast and financial Power Pro.
No, it's cool. It's the same with that. When she gets her committee reports, I'm like, I didn't get that. I'm just gonna.
Pay in the room.
I got you.
I don't know how.
Smile.
24.
But you won't have one, you'll have one less.
I'll have a
class
break
each
in the middle. Yeah.
That's good.
It's really good. Yeah.
Tuesdays are like 8 to 5 for you?
9:30 to 5.
Look at how cute she is.
That's not, oh, Brian.
Yeah.
Say hi to your mom.
Street cred.
And
It's just zooming on the face really close. Very, very close.
yeah, other people are watching. That's all right.
carry that.
Sorry.
That was good. Thank you. That was useless. Okay.
Please take your seats.
I'm sorry. I never mistake the meeting.
Much better.
Before I ran all the way to Missouri.
All right, I call this meeting back to order. I don't have anything else in my other, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to committee reports.
And so begins committee reports. Speakers list. Anyone else from speakers list? Only got 2. All right. Senator Flanagan.
Move to originally recommend the slate, following student groups, GrizMed, Thursday Esports, Volunteers in Action, and Women in Physics.
All right, there's been a motion to approve those student groups. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by
Discussion.
Senator Johnston. Yes, was not called, so Senator Flanagan, you're first. Business Manager Parsons.
We also need Shabbat Jewish student group.
So if you would like to amend the slate to include that student group, all you would have to do is just make a motion to amend to include that student group. So Senator Flanagan.
Move to amend my motion to include spots, your student group.
Jewish student group. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Fulton. Unanimous consent is called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion called by Senator Corkish. Senator Flanagan.
Yep.
Senator Corkish.
Okay, so the third group, something women. What about women in physics? Yes.
Okay, so if you would like to talk about a group that was in the original slate, I'll put you on the main speakers list for that slate, and then you can talk about it then. Business Manager Parsons.
Yeah, so the reason I added Shabbat Jewish student group is because we recognize them at the meeting, so I just want to make sure they got in.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll now vote to approve the amendment to add student group to the slate. All those in favor, please signify by raising your placard.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes unanimously. Corkish.
Is women in physics like inclusionary, like are all of them welcome, or is it just?
Is there any Parsons?
So according to the governing documents they submitted, it's open to all, regardless of gender or area of study.
Cool.
Any more discussion? Last call. All right, we'll take a vote to approve those 5 student groups. All those in favor, please signify by raising your placards. All those opposed? Abstentions? All right, the motion to approve those student groups passes unanimously. Next on my speakers list, I got Senator Corkish.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just talk about ASCRC. President Belcher and I are gonna kind of like bounce back and forth each week to talk about this. But we had like a pretty interesting meeting, so we had a second weekend. 2 people from the environmental studies department and environmental development college and building certificate. And we just discussed like if it was actually covering indigenous knowledge and like what part of the curriculum would be focused on indigenous populations. And we ended up approving that with like a number of other courses, general ASUM stuff. And then we also created a subgroup for discussion on micro-credentials, which are like, it's kind of hard to explain and maybe President Belfer can hold me, but what I got from it was like badges of like success. So like if you take a course that focuses a lot on computer skills, like when you complete that course, you'll get this badge that says so-and-so is certified in computer skills. And so that is just another way that it's sort of seen across the country as like a resume builder and just ways to really
promote like what students do on campuses, and so we're just discussing how that's going to be this year, whether that we should implement it and so forth. And President Belcher and I are both on that committee, so if we'll have anything else, bring up us. You can, and that was pretty much.
President Belcher.
Yeah, so just to add on to the micro-credentialing thing, just to give some background, micro-credentialing has grown in popularity as a discussion at UM as a result of UM's strong connections to the Missoula job community. It has been found that a lot of employers in the area are looking for, one, employees with some specific skills, or two, for their employees to gain specific skills while they're already working there. Additionally, micro-credentialing, in my opinion, is really good because it helps people of lower socioeconomic status achieve some levels of education that could eventually lead to them getting more income. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Salesforce Trailhead, but it's kind of a similar model to that, where you would complete, I don't know what they would call it at UM, a course, a module, in a specific topic. Computer science is something that's popular, but they've also talked a little bit about doing it for things like soft skills, like communication. So say, for example, XYZ company had a lot of great coders who just couldn't talk to customers. Micro-credential and communication would help them improve their business and vice versa. So if anyone has any questions about micro-credentialing, I'm happy to answer them.
Fulton. One Palmer Chamber.
Are we on the main speakers list?
Do you want to get put on the main speaker? Yeah, put you on the main speakers. And also just to add on to that, there is a micro-credential lecture / seminar in the Innovation Factory tomorrow from 10:30 to noon. If you want to go to that, and also if you want to be on ASURC, it meets Tuesdays from 2 to 4 every week. So send me an email. There's only 2 students on it right now. Senator Jimmy.
Hey everyone, I met with my mentee, Brad Paul. The title is the Federal Housing Specialist in the Executive Office. We met last Thursday. It was our first time meeting. We much chatted about our colleges and the university and what he's doing in his role in his previous position, and his current role right now, and what he wants to do in the president's office, what his vision is, how he wants to build connections between his position and ASUM. We chatted about the wonders of graduate school, and chatted about future meetings.
Senator Flanagan.
The search for the director of prestigious scholarships and fellowships is doing its last round of interviews next week, and there is going to be times open for the student body. So I really encourage everybody here, if they have time, to go check it out, because the director doesn't just serve the honors college; they serve the entire campus. The times are as follows, and I apologize if I butcher any last names. January 27th, Monday at 11 a.m. We will be meeting with Claire Mitchell. On January 28th at 2 p.m. we will be meeting with Kyla Venice. And January 30th at 2 p.m. we will be meeting with Brent Fujioka, and all of these are going to be reviewed sheets.
And for those of you that don't know where the DHC conference room is, all you have to do is just go into the office suite, and the receptionist there can tell you where it is. Senator Fulton.
This is a question for Senator Reed. In your committee report, it just states that you're planning an event. Can you elaborate more on that, please?
Yes. So we're going to have an event that will have law enforcement, different things like that. And then it's going to kind of show what I'll call the most person. And that's going to be the big focus on it. It's going to have a little bit of speaking at the beginning, but most of it's going to be more of a demonstration.
President Belcher.
I just have a comment on that event. So I've been in close communication with legal director Villanez about this. It's formally called a wet lab, and I and other campus officials will be drinking alcohol in public for you all to watch the effects of that. And we're looking to do it sometime after spring break, probably in April on a Friday. I suggest everyone attend.
Bravo.
Yeah, just to add on to that, we are also trying to work, we're working with law enforcement officials, but also trying to maybe get the law school involved in some capacity. Again, it's a very touch and go event we're trying to get. We got the details planned out. It's just a matter of getting everybody on board. Thank you, President Belcher. But, if the Senate would want, I've been talking with Lou, he'd be more than happy to come to one of our meetings and better inform you on his part and what he's gotten accomplished.
Flanagan.
Yeah, just speaking from the marketing and outreach side of the wet lab, we already have a couple slides prepared for it. I've been working with Lou on that for a while now. We're just waiting to see if all entities involved are going to approve the slides, and they are. We're going to try to get them around campus and in different newsletters on campus. And we should be having a table at the event as well. And I really encourage everyone that's in it to go to the event once the date is set.
Any more committee reports? Any more committee reports? Last call. Sweet, so it's committee reports, and now we'll move into unfinished business, starting with Senate Bill 49, resolution amending section 20 of fiscal policy. Senator Nelson, your authorship.
Okay, I wrote this resolution for a number of reasons. The primary reason was that I felt that there were some issues within SIP and something wanted to be fixed, including like repetitive sections. So like one of the things that I saw when I was going through fiscal policy this summer. The other reason I wanted to edit SIP policy was based on some ongoing issues between years regarding grouping items together within one SIP request. Okay, so the first thing I did was I got rid of duplicated sections. The second thing I did was I edited 20.6 to eliminate the ability to group items together. I did this because I believe that it gives the Board on Budget and Finance as well as Senate a more clear idea of how the fund things. It also ensures that we maintain absolute discretion over funding, how much student groups get and where the money can be spent. This ensures that we can follow fiscal policy more appropriately and more effectively, and also ensures that we maintain absolute sovereignty over the allocation of funding. Another reason I did this was because as section 20.7 currently states, the board is supposed to recommend specific requests and submit them to the Senate. But when items are grouped together, we cannot recommend in specific amounts. We are forced to give it up to the student groups to determine how to spend money. And for me, that's a clear and absolute violation of fiscal policy, not only within SIP, but in other types of fiscal policy as well. And so in addition to requiring SIP requests to be $150 and not allowing student groups to group items together, I've asked the student groups if they're going to submit for multiple items that they do them on separate requests. Again, so we maintain absolute autonomy over funding and the discretion of allocation. So, yep, that's what I'm willing to answer them.
Business Manager Parsons.
So I want to applaud Senator Nelson for writing this resolution. There has been a lot of discrepancies between what fiscal policy says and what the form says. So when you look at the STIP form, it says you need an individual STIP request for each item. However, if you look to our policy, it states that you can group items together until $150 is reached. So there wasn't really a clear, consistent standard. As was previously stated, there has been issues in the past when we have gone to fund student groups with the grouping. It makes for a difficult budgeting process, and I think it would be a lot more feasible just to have groups submit an individual form for each type of item they're requesting. So I applaud your efforts and live long and prosper.
Bolton.
Move to amend line 30 to add a semicolon.
Okay, there's been a motion to amend line 30 by Senator Fulton to place a semicolon at the end, seconded by Senator Luker. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, that amendment has been adopted. Sweet. It was moved by Fulton, seconded by Luker.
Gotcha.
Next on my speakers list, I got Senator Corkish.
I think it was really good. I do really think that not grouping will allow us to have more productive discussions, because I think that in the past we've found levels when it comes to libraries and so forth. So I
then we can repass this, I think it'll just streamline things a lot.
Senator Darnell.
Move to replace has with has in line 35.
Okay, there has been a motion to replace the word have with has in line 35 of the resolution. It's moved by Darnell, seconded by Corkish. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, the amendment has been adopted. We'll give Secretary a few moments to adopt it, but would you want to follow? Okay, I'll call on you in a bit.
Guys.
You're good. Same here. All right. Janelle, go follow up.
Yeah, overall, I really like this resolution. I like the clarity that it's going to provide. I do have a question for the author, but I'm actually a little bit more clarity. So as it stands right now, it says STIP requests must have a value of at least $150, and then students must submit a separate STIP request for each unique item. The only question I have after this is, so then they would be making it each individual item. Does that mean that each individual item has to be 150, or can the total of all those individual items equal 150? And do you think that there needs to be additional language in there to clarify?
Yes, each request needs to be $150, each item needs to be $150. I argued back and forth with myself whether to change this or not. I ultimately decided not to because STIP request is supposed to be capital investments, and I really don't believe that investments should be of a substantial amount, otherwise you can possibly budgeting or utilize funds that were allocated to previous budgeting sessions. I think that every item that's requested as a unique item is $150. I don't think submitting separate requests to eventually equal $150 should even be considered, and I don't think further language is needed to clarify that, but if you think there is,
Flanagan.
So, question for, I guess, the business manager of the Board on Budget and Finance. Can you use a special allocation to request something that would be under the $150, or?
Yep, so insofar as it's tied to an event or something that you're hosting, so if you wanted just like a bunch of party caps, and that's like $50. If it was going towards an event, then yes.
Can I have a follow-up?
Mm-hmm.
So, question for the author, just to clarify, you didn't want the request to be able to go below 150 because you believe it wouldn't be substantial enough that it would go below 150?
yeah, that's ultimately the conclusion I came up with. I felt that anything under $150 would be relatively easily be accounted for in final budgeting or through their allocated budget, either through line item changes or whatever they requested. For me, if we're going to be giving money out of this account, I really believe that there should be a substantial amounts. But again, if we want to change it, that's, I don't think that the chair would be like.
Senator Johnson.
Yeah, so it says in point one, request funding is for a funding of one-time capital project, so usually that's something that's gonna be substantial, but it's not necessarily something that would fall into a smaller pocket of money, and also comes out of the worksheets done, so works evening, so thanks.
And just as a reminder, please speak up so that we can hear you a little bit more clearly. You're fine, just as a reminder to every senator. Senator Jamel.
Can you clarify any amendments to fiscal policy or constitution? Is that correct? Yeah, can I follow up? I would like, I'm just gonna encourage everyone to vote yes and not abstain. Because when it comes to fiscal policy amendments, for everyone who doesn't know, I think the clarity just not long ago, it has to have a 2/3 vote. And I think this is a really well-written resolution, and that clarifies a lot, and the only one thing that was unclear was clarified, but also supported in additional means for seniors to receive funding. So I'm really impressed with all that overall, so just find something to focus on this resolution.
Wayne.
Would you rule it dilatory if I were to propose an amendment to change the $150 amount?
Yeah, I would. Okay. That needs to be a separate resolution.
One thing I was wondering about this is what happens if there was a stiff request for an item that was, say, $150, $200, but then they wanted, say, insurance that goes along with that item or something that would cover like a warranty or something like that, and they needed like an extra $20. Does that get included in with that item, or does that have to be a separate line?
So I'm gonna have business manager post those question.
So even with this language, it will still be discretionary up to the chair. I think in those types of like certain situations, one can make the argument to include it. However, it would just be a broader discussion with the board. Yeah, hopefully that never happens. But if it is, the business manager or the board of finance can determine how they want to move forward at that point. So there still is a little bit of choice element to it. However, that's kind of against the intent. Grouping insurance and an item together. If it's underneath $100, it would make more sense to request in the final budgeting process.
Luger.
I move to approve.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve Senate Bill 49. Seconded by Senator Corkish.
Unanimous?
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, Senate Bill 49 has been approved unanimously. Sweet. That now moves us into Senate Bill 50, resolution regarding the renovation and expansion of the music building. Senator Durnell, your authorship.
Yeah, well, I got a pretty warm welcome from on the board, full of comments, which is very nice. Anyway, I have an authorship written. If you have any questions, I encourage you to write them down. I feel pretty well versed on this topic and able to explain a lot of questions or anything that's left uncertain. Following. The University of Montana Music Building was built in 1953, designed to serve 100 music majors and the studio space for 12 faculty members. Over the last decade, there's been a steady increase in student enrollment in the School of Music. It's not something that can be made top most departments on campus, so I'd like to highlight that. And I would also like to highlight that since 1953, the music building has become a fundamental space to more than just music majors and faculty. For instance, it is the main stop for ASUM transportation users. They utilize the lobby and the bathrooms when they're waiting for their bus. It's a host of many education classes, School of Education, as well as the host of the largest general education course on campus, history, rock and roll. It's the building that hosts the original marching band of around 130 members on average, and the building that provides its already limited locker space and storage area for them. The music building hosts an array of large professional community ensembles and organizations, including the Missoula Symphony Orchestra and Chorale, the Montana Music Teachers Association, the String Orchestra, the Rockies, and the Montana Music Educators Association, and that's fairly brief. Those are the largest, but there's so many. Both K through 12 and undergraduate events are held in the music building regularly, including Montana's All-State Music Festival and competitions, the Northwest Music Educators National Conferences, and the Society of Composers and Corporations conferences. Again, it's very brief. Through hosting concerts, competitions, camps, clinics, and honors festivals, the music building sees up to 3,700 prospective university students into the building each year. That's with the inclusion of an All-State Festival, which happens every 4 years. They furthermore reach these prospective students outside of their building from screening and faculty tours, both inner and interstate. And that's almost every area of the music building that does these tours. And every year there's at least one out of state, at least one in the state. It's pretty impressive. Although the amount of people that the music building embodies is impressive, it's recognized that also people are operating in the building, but they're struggling with several issues because of deferred maintenance and lack of expansion. I have listed examples that are not fully defined in the resolution, or they are fully defined in the resolution. A lack of proper heating and air conditioning regulation in large ensemble rooms. Because of this, they're generally an uncomfortably cold or hot temperature, but also an unstable environment for instruments. Rooms that are too cold make wooden instruments prone to breaking. Rooms that are too hot create extreme chilling issues and can work with brass instruments. Another issue is the sharing or forfeiting of blockers because of the lack of blocker space. Education majors normally use 2 blockers because they take math classes for every instrument by the time they graduate. That means each semester they're playing about 2 to 6 instruments at a time. And these store somewhere. Reasonably, they can't haul those instruments to from school in their house every day. They usually need a second locker to accommodate for that storage. Some I know have a third. Prison marching band members who are not music majors also use the lockers. And the locker space was again intended originally for 100 people, which is nowhere near accommodating now. And it was actually 150 lockers. And they did take into account when building it that education majors would probably need more space. But yeah, it's still well exceeded. Additionally, classroom and hallway storage of instruments. Because of the lack of storage space has become problematic, instruments are stored around the walls of ensemble rooms, making them crowded and not acoustically sound. The most pressing problem, and I'd like to highlight this especially, is the practice room space, in which there are only 3 practice rooms. Those 3 practice rooms aren't all accessible to all instruments, so really like 16 most accessible practice rooms. None of those practice rooms are soundproof. Musicians are practicing in the halls, hoping the practice room clears up for them. Once they get a practice room, they cannot practice while in the 4 practice hall neighbors simultaneously. That's the same thing in classrooms as well. You hear people practicing from the basement. It is common practice for other music schools to, at the very least, have a soundproof room. All practice rooms and ensemble rooms in the music building are deemed unsafe for human hearing and overcapacity of bodies by the fire marshal. The floors, walls, and ceiling structures are damaged, making them outdated because of the lack of renovations, just generally throughout the building. There's only one space for music technology. There's a growing field among musicians today. This one space owns 12 stations to work from, which means class size involved in the area of study. The amount of technological access the school has is even appropriate for school learning purposes, especially with the addition of new music technology and majors such as sonic arts. The school also has limited ADA access. Frequently, the stores that requires physical labor to open and close it properly. Similarly, a floor that's required for one ensemble room that is extremely outdated. These critiques have been formally discussed by students for years, but also professionally made by an architectural program study in 2015 and the National Association of School and Music in 2015. National School of Music holds accreditation. In 2012, when the School of Music was last reviewed for accreditation, we re-accredited only because we were assured that the issues would be resolved. Since 2012, nothing has been fixed, and the School of Music again faces re-accreditation in 2022. And the accreditation, I'd like to really highlight, that's one of the most outstanding factors of the School of Music here. It's what makes the building stand out in the Northwest and amongst the nation. Other great schools that have the same accreditation is one of the best you can have in the nation. And that's mostly due to the faculty that we have, the types of programs we offer, and the high level of academia that the School of Music offers. The only thing that holds back the accreditation, essentially the only thing, is a cluster of building issues that are deemed like unsafe, improper for learning purposes and whatnot. So it is an obstacle. The national accreditation is also something that prospective students look for when they look for music schools. And without that, I am sure that they will not even look into the University School of Music. The promises made to NASA were made under previous administration, as well as the lack of any renovation or expansion thereof. I'm extremely hopeful and excited about the music building's future and the current administration. We've been very supportive about the path towards expanding and renovating the building in recent years and very recently. And the community who have expressed their love for that area of the university as well. The appropriate next step in this case is to adequately respond to similar student concerns. Last fall, a fall church survey was conducted regarding the use of funds created by the consolidation of the university's debts, and 45.7% of qualitative responses regarding which instructional spaces students want and improved were about the music building. Despite this overwhelming response, the music building was not considered for the use of these funds. And furthermore, there was a comment made about those responses being like some sort of a political campaign, which I found extremely disrespectful to the students who decided to participate in that. As a senator, I can't allow for the student voice to simply be diminished in this manner. The music building's expansion and renovation is to be discussed at the OR session this May. and the legislative session to be decided on the following year. It's been a high priority in previous sessions. Ranked number 2, for example, last time Romney Hall, which is understandable, and I'm glad Romney got renovated. Regardless, servicing this building and its students is long overdue. So I'm really hopeful to share this resolution with all of you. Follow it.
Yeah.
Move to correct the spelling of progress in line 134.
All right, there's been a motion by Senator Durnell to correct the spelling of the word progress. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Flanagan, and unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection?
34, progress.
Yeah, line 134. That was seconded by
Flanagan.
Flanagan. Give the secretary a few moments to get that amendment up on the screen. All right, next on my speakers list, I got Senator Corch.
Yes, so, if, regardless of whether or not we pass this, will we be able to like speak at BOR?
Yeah, I intend to. That's the in the process of communicating this to the legislature throughout the year following.
Can I have a follow?
Yeah.
So, when it comes to BOR, I think it's more influential if the Senate can back someone speaking there. So I think that we pass this, also our physics students have been seriously underloved, so I think we should somehow.
Johnson.
Senator Durnell, with the expansion of the music, where would that building expand to? I bet that space is pretty big. Do they have things?
Yeah, they do have plans, and they'll they're pretty sad from the way I think they still have a couple more songs to play. However, the one big one is an addition of a large ensemble room. Because the large ensemble room that's used now is as a in here and used as like storage essentially, and just extremely outdated and it's soundproof. They're planning on making a larger one, a soundproof one, not in the back of the building. So, and I think that's the only intent outwards. Definitely kind of expand upwards, I'm sure. With the addition of like new practice rooms and whatnot. Soundproof.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
I'm in so much support of the speed. I community to Puerto Rican about this and how it's done. It's been kicked down the line so many times. The next BOR, the next BOR, the next BOR. But I think it's finally time this gets done, and I highly recommend that other senators, regardless of the travel, and make sure those session.
And before I go on to my next speaker, the May 2020 Board of Regents is in Hatter, just as an FYI, Senator Fulton.
First, thank you to the author for writing this. I'm actually going to propose an amendment, but before I do that, I just want to explain why I'm doing it. So I actually had a conversation with the director of the School of Music, Dr. James Randall, and I also went to the director of theater because of last year, the music theater degree was also offered. And when I went and talked to them, the 195 only has undergraduates and graduates, people who are declaring music as a major and or graduate students. That does not include any minors, and that also does not include the musical theater degree. So may I have a follow-up, please?
Yeah.
Move to amend lines 15 to state, whereas enrolled students of the School of Music are significantly increasing. Current enrollment is 235 minors, undergraduate and graduate students.
Okay, so let's give the secretary, we're gonna wait to take a second on this one.
Yeah, please do if you want.
You said 200.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do a 3-minute recess. If any of you wanna go get pizza right now, please hurry up so we can.
Is there what?
235.
35, undergraduate.
If anyone else has amendments you're making to the resolution, please send them to the secretary in the break.
Minors. Undergraduates.
Yeah, undergraduates. Or undergraduates.
Okay. Oh, that was easier than I thought. Sorry, bub. Okay.
And so.
Did we accept this? No? Okay.
Or was that great?
I'm gonna accept.
Yeah, so as far, as far as
Anyone else?
the funding necessary is available from the university to develop, but once it is, it could be legislative sessions, which is really not.
Is it ready to go to bid for contractors or not? That's the main question.
It's already been spoken about with, architects and whatnot, so. Definitely, I know that.
No, you're good.
My pizza tastes a little cough droppy, but.
No cough drop pizza.
Hey,
Wow. Yeah. You know, that would be great marketing, because they could be like, want some cough drop pizza, and just drop it while it's hot.
I've never eaten cold pizza unless I have to. Oh, damn it.
I was the three. Okay.
30.
20 or 30, yeah, I mean, 30 minutes is fine.
So when I went and asked
Does anyone else have any resolutions for this one that they need to send me before? Amendments to the resolution? I meant to say resolution stuff that they need to send me, sorry.
So the minors, that's another 20 students, and then you
Oh.
go to, yeah.
Okay, so are you just including?
So I'm including minors and also the school theater students, they're getting a EA in musical theater, that's also not. They are. But they also are in music. And they take it.
That's right.
Right. So it's just
Was
like.
right, sorry.
It makes sense.
I'm Midwestern, get used to my colloquialism.
So that's why I like.
Oklahoma.
That's why I put that. It's.
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma does not count as what?
Just.
All right, we'll be starting back up in a few seconds, so please take your seats.
I guess that's the mid part.
That's the number I got for all of them.
It's really the middle of the country, right?
Here we go. All right. All right, I call this meeting back to order at 7:47. So the amendment to the resolution is reflected in lines 15 through 16 on the resolution. It's been motioned for by Senator Fulton. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Flanagan. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection, discussion or objection? Seeing none, the amendment has been adopted. Next on my speakers list, I got President Belcher.
I move to amend line 138 to replace the word music with the word all, and then after the University of Montana, insert including music students, comma. And I said that.
All right, I'm gonna wait for it to get on the screen before I take a second. And then university. And then comma. And then if you get rid of the comma after Montana too.
Yeah, not bad.
It says comment.
Yep. All right, I'll take a second.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Hurley. Unanimous consent decorum. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, the amendment's been adopted. Would you like a follow-up? Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't get to give an authorship, and during my authorship, I was gonna give Senator Grinnell a huge kudos and great job on this. This is the exact kind of work that I love to see senators doing, and I also wanted to point out that this is the kind of project that can come from academic diversity on Senate, and seeing something out of a department and in favor of a department that is not political science. This is amazing advocacy, and I'm so excited to defend this resolution with so many people.
Nelson,
I move to amend 129 to capitalize transportation.
okay, so there is a motion to amend line 29, 26, got it. To capitalize the T in transportation. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Sladich, and unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection, discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, that amendment has been adopted. Line 26. There we go. All right, and it was moved by Nelson, seconded by Sladich. Next on my speakers list, I got Senator Wilmes.
I don't have an amendment, but there's just one thing I wanted to add in here is that for anybody that's considered this or maybe on the fence about it, the timeline for construction projects of this scale takes a long time. If the university doesn't get on this in the next year or so, they're not going to have this done by 2022. This is something that by May Board of Regents, they need to be out for bid, get those plans out there, and hopefully by midsummer or something like that, they can begin construction. The renovations are going to need all the trades that you see in construction, everything from cement worker to electrician, and it's going to take quite a while. And that's especially true if they run into any problems structurally, which of course happens when you retrofit old buildings. So this needs to be on the move yesterday.
Senator Flanagan.
Question for the author, or really anyone that might know, and forgive me if this was mentioned in the authorship, I don't believe it was, the 45.7% qualitative responses referring to the music building, were those a majority of like consolidated responses, or was there another majority in that?
President Belcher.
Yeah. I have read that several times, and what I believe Senator Durnell was referring to was that of the responses that included information about instructional space, 45% of them or whatever concerned the music school. However, there were a lot of things mentioned in those qualitative responses that didn't have anything to do with classrooms or renovations.
There's essentially people had a concern with every part of campus, but they had just very small percentage of the like 1 or 2 responses, whereas we have a huge majority. So it wasn't only majority for instructional spaces, and there were other categories that did have other majorities, but as far as instructional spaces.
And then may I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
If anyone is like on the fence about this, please be on the speakers list. I mean, as far as I can see, this is a great investment. I mean, it's not just an investment in the traditional sense, it's also an investment in the safety of our students, which is really important as well. I mean, I've heard numerous examples of that in authorship as well as in other instances. So yeah, unless there's, again, any opposition that we can snuff out, or if there's any sort of like amendments that we can start working on right now, let's get this pushed through.
Senator Terrell.
Yeah, I would just like to thank Senator Durnell also for bringing this resolution up. As he mentioned briefly in his authorship, this is extremely important for enrollment and retention. People don't want to go to a school where the building sucks. So yeah, this is definitely a good thing to take a stance on. And I can't wait to see how Senator Durnell knows that you are on. So.
Johnson.
Yield.
Business Manager Parsons.
So move to capitalize the sentences for lines 104 and 118 so that since is capitalized and in is capitalized.
Okay, there's been a motion to capitalize the word since in line 104 and capitalize the word in 118. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Kiefer. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Seeing none, the amendment is adopted. My speakers list is empty. Would anyone like to get on it at this time? Senator Hahn.
Motion to capitalize the first letter of the first words in lines 49 57 and 59.
All right, so there's been a motion to capitalize the first words in line 49, 57, and 59. Is there, before I take a second, point of information, Senator Corkish.
Yeah, so that's what the copy paste of the normal text, so that
57.
Is there a second? Would you like to withdraw, Senator Hahn?
Withdraw, but follow up.
Yeah.
A motion to capitalize Qualtrics in line 118.
Okay, there's been a motion to capitalize the word Qualtrics, hold on, in line 118. It's been moved by Senator Hahn.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Fulton, and unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, that amendment is adopted, and that is line 118. All right, my speakers list is empty. Would anyone like, Senator Nelson?
Line 118, I need to capitalize the I in.
Okay, so that motion was made by Business Manager Parsons a couple of minutes ago. So, all right. My speakers list is empty. Would anyone like to be on at this time? Anyone else? Last call for discussion. All right, seeing none, we'll now move to a roll call vote on Senate Bill 50, resolution regarding the renovation and expansion of the music building. Secretary David, will you please take the roll call vote?
Senator Gregory,
Yes.
Senator Hahn,
Yes.
Senator Hurley.
Yep.
Senator Jimmy,
Yes.
Senator Johnston,
Yes.
Senator Kiefer.
Yep.
Senator Medina,
Yep.
Senator Nelson,
Yes.
Senator Ream,
Yes.
Senator Rink,
Yes.
Senator Sledge, sorry,
Yes.
Senator Terrello,
Yes.
Senator Wilmes,
Yes.
Senator Borgasani,
Yes.
Senator Corkish,
Yes.
Senator Durnell,
Yes.
Senator Flanagan,
Yes.
Senator Fulton,
Yes.
Senator Gluckert,
Yes.
Business Manager Parsons,
Yep.
President Belcher,
Yes.
21 to 0.
All right, resolution passes 21-0. And that is the end of unfinished business. We'll now move into new business. All those that want to get on my speakers list, please raise your placards at this time. I got Fulton, Terrello, Kiefer. Anyone else? Cool. Senator Fulton.
Resolution to BNF and the Music Union to amend sections 9.7.4 of ASUM Senate policy.
Okay, so that's one resolution amending sections 9.7.4 of ASUM fiscal policy.
Yep.
Cool. And then, yeah, if you could just write the title on a sticky note so the secretary can double check it. And then that will go to budget and finance as well as, can you explain why you wanted to go to music union?
Because it's involving their name change and it affects.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense, okay. Sweet, and then brief authorship?
Yeah, so back in October, we passed SB 23 to change the student music, change the music organization union to the student music union. And in physical policy, it still states it as the music organization union, and it's just like we keep all of our governing documents all uniform and.
Cool. Senator Terrello.
One resolution to RNA and BNF, adjusting the cap for funding airfare for student-approved travel requests.
Okay, and then can you pass that on down the line?
Oh.
Thanks. Yeah, you can. Can you explain why it needs to go to RNA?
Fixes or anything, or is it just BNF?
It only needs to go to BNF. So do you want it to go to RNA?
Yeah, let's just send it there just to cross all our T's and dot all our I's.
So you want it to go to relations and, or you want it to go to budget and finance and relations and affairs?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, so I'll send it to RNA as well.
Does that mess up the process if it goes to RNA or?
No, it just makes it a little bit longer because it has to go through two committees. If the author of the resolution wants it to go through multiple committees, then it can go through multiple committees.
Okay.
So, as chair, I can exercise discretion over what committees it can and can't go to, but this is one where it's like a gray area, so it can go to RNA. Authorship.
Yeah, so this is an issue that slightly controversial issue that we've discussed before. And the resolution that I have written / in writing, will hopefully be a compromise between the two positions that have been taken on the issue.
And because this is a resolution of a similar issue that we've seen this year, I would like to ask how different it is before I accept the resolution to being sent to RA.
So the last resolution we saw, was flat out cutting our ability to fund it. Whereas this is just basically changing how much we can fund.
And for those of you that don't know, the Parley Pro behind that, if there's a resolution that did not pass earlier in the year, and a senator that voted for the resolution brings up a resolution of a similar issue, I will swat it away because that's the resolution, that's how it got killed. So just as a disclaimer there, that's basically how we keep business moving in Senate so that we don't keep seeing the same issues. Next, Senator Kiefer.
Okay, I'm introducing one resolution amending the recycling oversight board bylaws.
So that will go to Relations and Affairs as well as recycling. And then, all right, and then officer.
Yeah, so we just want to change our name to the Zero Waste Oversight Board. It fits more with what we're doing. And we're working with the Post-Landfill Action Network, so that we want to really broaden the scope of what this board is doing. So that's it.
Cool. Any more new business? Any more new business? Last call. All right, seeing none, I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Moved by Senator Fulton. Seconded by Senator Wilmes. Unanimous consent called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8 p.m.
Comments?
Yeah.